congratulations to all of them. Notice one thing about those women, those winners, they're all ladies. Maybe they were filling in their fellows' forms. Just a reminder of 2 matches coming up which deserve your support. Tomorrow at Parkhead, Davy Proven's testimonial, Celtic against Nottingham Forest, and next Sunday, Dundee against a Premier League side for Jim Duffy. Both games for super players forced to quit the game at their peak. Do go along to one or the other, maybe both. And Andy, very many thanks for joining in the fun.
Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed.
And the Scotland squad have arrived in Luxembourg for their final match in the European Championship. The party's travelling with 2 captains, one to lead the team tomorrow night, the other the newly appointed squad captain, Roy Aitken.
The Scotland squad arrived at Glasgow Airport without a number of key players missing through injury. Dave McPherson was a late call-up and joins Hearts teammate Gary Mackay, scorer of the winning goal in Bulgaria. And the squad boasted 2 captains, Alex McLeish given the title for the night in recognition of his 50th cap, and Roy Aitken, the new pro captain.
Tonight with Scotland's European Championship match against Luxembourg over in the tiny Grand Duchy. The details from Jim White.
The Scots look to carry on in their recent winning way over in Luxembourg tonight. But the man who scored the Scots' winner and the only goal over in Bulgaria last month, Hearts' Gary Mackay, is on the bench tonight. Coach Roxburgh may well give Mackay a run at some stage, mindful of the player's splendid effort in Sofia. But Everton's Graham Sharp and ex-Celt Maurice Johnson will aim to shoot the Luxembourg defence down tonight. Johnson need only look to the Bordeaux match recently, scoring this magnificent goal for Nantes last month. The former Celtic striker has been a big hit in French football and is the top scorer over there with 11 goals. Roxburgh hopes to see some of most splendid club form in Luxembourg tonight. So how will the Scots fare tonight? My colleague Jerry McNee is in the Extour Alzette Stadium tonight. Before he left for Luxembourg, he gave me this pre-match view.
Well, I think it's another Scotland victory. When did we last win 2 away games in consecutive ties? And it's important enough because the World Cup draw is just over a week away now. It'll be good to let other nations know that we're winning the games. I think it's important also, we got the wooden spoon last time in the European Championship. This time, if we win this match, we finish second, and that's important.
Meanwhile, the SFA International Committee has been meeting today and it has postponed its decision to invite South Americans Uruguay to play in the 3-nation Rouse Cup next summer. Committee officials met in Luxembourg earlier today. Meanwhile, the match over in Luxembourg has just kicked off and the latest score from there is Luxembourg 0, Scotland 0.
Thanks, Jim. An engineer has told an industrial tribunal how he saw a lighted piece of paper in his toilet cubicle while he was sitting reading. Jim McClay from Gourock said he jumped to his feet and one of the pages from his newspaper fell and caught fire. Mr. McClay was giving evidence at the hearing of maintenance engineer Jim McKinnon, who's claiming unfair. He signed for Londoners Queen's Park Rangers for £350,000. And the Ibrox club looks set to spend some of that money more or less immediately. With the details in the rest of the weekend sport, here's Jim White.
27-year-old Mark Falco flew to London last night following an approach by Queen's Park Rangers manager Jim Smith. Today, Falco joined the Loftus Road club, and for him it's a return to London, where he's played the vast majority of his football for Tottenham and more briefly Watford. Rangers player boss Graham Souness, typically, has already made positive moves to buy yet again. I can reveal that the Rangers boss has today put an increased offer in writing to St Mirren for midfielder Ian Ferguson, having recently bid in the region of £500,000 for the player. Souness has made it clear he wants to bring Ferguson to Ibrox, though St Mirren have slapped a not-for-sale tag on the player so far. More on that shortly. And those are the fixtures tomorrow. Dundee play Aberdeen, play Dundee United. Celtic top the table right now on 34 points, 1 ahead of long-time leaders Hearts on 33. Aberdeen, Rangers and Dundee are all chasing. So tomorrow's Premier fixtures are a repeat of those on the first day of the league programme back in August. At Ibrox on that day, Rangers and Dundee United shared the honours.
Beaumont is clear in the middle, he's onside, a great chance for Dundee United. And a very poor finish initially, but Beaumont makes it on the rebound. And United are ahead. Oh, Rangers have the chance to equalise with McCoist facing Thompson. Superbly taken. Rangers are back on level terms.
Meanwhile, it's congratulations to Celtic new boy Joe Miller tonight. Miller has been voted the Fine Fair Young Footballer of the Month. He deserves the honour. Now, Jerry McNee, first of all, what about the situation with Ian Ferguson? Souness is up the offer and he wants the player desperately.
Well, I think he's probably gone to something like £700,000 now. That's a lot of money, but it is an inflated market. And there are similarities here to the Joe Miller situation. You just mentioned him. Aberdeen accepted an offer they couldn't refuse from Celtic. I think it's getting to that stage now with St Mirren because time running out, the European deadline is a week on Tuesday if Rangers have to have Ferguson in time for the European Champions Cup quarter-finals. St Mirren might want to hold out, but Rangers then might look elsewhere.
He's a good player, Ferguson, of course. Everyone remembers the goal he scored in the cup final against Dundee United. How could we forget it? There it was. Now, he's always in a position like that. He's always threatening, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a terrific player. That goal, incidentally, was scored in the 110th minute of St Mirren's 110th year. And quite special for him, obviously. But he can defend, he can attack, he can play in midfield. A very special player, and that's why Rangers are going to push out the boat to get him.
St Mirren would welcome £700,000.
Well, I think they'd rather hold on to their player, but they know now they've got a disgruntled player, just like Miller was at Aberdeen. Aberdeen saw that and sold him. I think St Mirren would be wise to do that now. There's no point in having him sitting in the stand.
You mentioned Joe Miller a second ago, Jerry. What an impact he's made at Celtic. A very good player.
Yes, he deserves it, and let me take my hat off to the Celtic fans the other night. 42,000 turned out for Davy Provan. This is a similar case, a player forced out of the game, Provan through illness, Duffy through injury. These are the genuine cases, and apparently a £7 million team being assembled to face Dundee. Charlie Nicholas is coming up. All the top players in the Premier League will turn out against Dundee on Sunday. And Jim Duffy, who also played for Celtic and Morton, I hope their fans will go up as well. I hope he gets a good turnout.
So tonight, Jerry, again, we're in a situation talking about transfers and talking about players coming here and going there. What we can say for sure is that Stuart Pearce of Nottingham Forest will not be going to Rangers because he has today signed a long-term contract for Forest.
That's right, that's bad news for Graham Souness. I spoke to the Rangers manager on Monday. He was about to table a bid of £650,000, but very difficult to get hold of Brian Clough. He won't come to the phone, apparently, to anyone. And he just said no, and that the player likes Forest because Clough is there. He made that quite clear. He's a special manager. He's signed for him for 3 years.
Jerry, it seems Rangers are never out of the news, are they?
Well, they're not, but they're stimulating the whole game, and I think it's great.
Great. Jerry, thanks.
View of what's gone wrong with Dundee United, news of a major transfer away from Ibrox, and with a preview of ice hockey's first major final of the season, here's Bill McFarlane.
First football and the Premier teams tomorrow embark on the second half of the league campaign. Celtic hold a 1-point advantage over Hearts at the top, with Aberdeen and Rangers still well placed in the championship race. Dundee United find themselves languishing in 6th place, 13 points off the lead. At the same time last year they were second only to Celtic. They'd reached the semis of the Skol Cup and went on to the finals of the UEFA and Scottish Cups. But it's precisely that level of success which has landed them in their present troubles. 7 en route to the Scottish Cup final and 4 in the Skol Cup made a combined league and cup tally of almost 70. And the effect of 100 hours of football on the Tannadice squad has been disastrous.
We, for instance, have 2 players at the moment, Eamon Bannon and Paul Sturrock, who honestly are actually getting worse, it seems, rather than better from injuries. And I honestly know that from Mexico, these 2 players in particular, and many others, have really struggled.
The Ibrox Championship charge.
As Kinnear, he did that very well, and that's a goal! Ferguson!
Recent losses to Hearts, St Mirren and Falkirk have deflated Tannadice hopes, but Jim McLean hasn't lost his appetite for success.
At some point there's got to be replacement of your exceptional players. The adrenaline starts going and the appetite to try and fill the places. It will be extremely difficult. It most certainly will take a lot of luck as well. But if we're given time, then I believe that we can get things sorted out.
An optimistic Jim McLean. Well, one player missing from the Ibrox squad will be Englishman Mark Falco. He's left Ibrox to play for the other Rangers, QPR, in a £300,000 deal. Manager Graham Souness said the former Spurs player was unhappy at not being a regular first-team choice in Glasgow. Well, ice hockey and...
Start just by looking at a caption that we've got together, Terry. Now, that doesn't make pleasant reading, does it? Especially when Desmond said at the beginning of the season that there were only 12 sent off in that first season after the war. 99 there and then 20 in other competitions. Total of 119, 20 in the last week.
Last weekend. But look out for champions Rangers. They're moving up fast and last week toppled Hearts from the top spot.
Away from McPherson. Good play by McCoist. A delicate ball across. Kenny Black, and it's for the flight for absolute gift for Robert Fleck. John Robertson waits in the middle. He's well covered though. Robertson beaten by Goff. This is Galloway. Tremendous goal from Mike Galloway. Kenny Black going back to battle hard for Hearts, but he's lost out to McCoist. McCoist has support on the outside from Durant. There's Fleck. It's got in. It's an own goal. Rangers take the lead. Fleck is injured, and it looks as though Craig Levine played it into his own net. Another corner kick. There's McPherson. Turned in by Robertson. The ball's in the net, and Hearts are back on level terms. This is Fleck. Now Durant. Shooting chance for Durant. Yes! 17 minutes from the end, the Rangers bench celebrates an Ian Durant special.
Well, what a game that must have been, James.
Great game, wasn't it?
Terrific. Now, Ray Wilkins made his debut.
Yep.
And when you look at Rangers now, I mean, the players they've got with experience is unbelievable. I mean, Ray Wilkins, ex-England captain, you know, played all over the world.
Right, it's worldwide experience, isn't it? Trevor Francis, I mean, Suey himself, they're all there. And I suppose it's nice to see old Butch back in Britain. Look, forward ball, I don't know.
Yes, a nice little forward ball, and you were saying last week about him playing square.
Well, yeah, but hold on, here comes one. No, it must be very good for Rangers that you've got someone like Butch. He didn't quite see the game through, but man of vast experience and knowledge who will give a lot to Rangers, there's no doubt about that.
We certainly do that. Now, earlier in the programme we mentioned elbows and players elbowing each other, and I'm just wondering, when I saw Wilkins there, if Souness and Wilkins have made up, because if you remember, in the Scotland-England match, there was a bit of elbowing going on that day.
This was a classic. I would assume they've made up. Can you imagine what things must have been like when they were discussing their contract?
Yes. I think that would have cost Rangers a few grand.
Looking at that, I've got an idea that Suey come out with a better deal than what Butch Wilkins did.
Well, I think perhaps it's the appropriate time to switch our attention to boxing.
At the top of the Premier Division, Aberdeen won 2-1 at Dundee and Rangers won 1-0 against Dundee United.
Debut for Rangers, but it wasn't a happy one. First he was booked, then he was substituted.
Crowned unofficial British champions after beating Everton in the Super Cup in Dubai. Playing without Israeli internationalist Avi Cohen and omitting the word lager from their shirt advertising, the Ibrox team were careful to avoid offending their Arab hosts. But only a dramatic comeback prevented disappointment on the field.
These are pictures of yesterday's match in the Super Cup between Everton and Rangers. They've arrived in Broadcasting House in Glasgow via London, via Eurovision and via satellite from Dubai. The fact that they've been all over Europe will do no harm to Scottish football whatsoever. The match was of the highest quality. Indeed, Rangers scored 16 times. To explain, 8 of these were in the penalty shootout, 6 were disallowed and 2 stood. The English champions were already 1 goal up from a first half which they'd dominated when Stephen created an opening for the second. He cut the ball back to Watson, who despite the late arrival of the Ibrox defence was able to find a gap to beat Woods. 2 goals down and time was running out for Rangers playing in white. But with 10 minutes left, Robert Fleck gave Rangers a lifeline. He'd had 4 goals chalked off, but this one was allowed to stand. So, just as he'd done in the Skol Cup final, Robert Fleck had brought the Ibrox team back into the game, with the 8,000 local support now right behind the Scottish champions. But Everton had a chance to steal the show as Sheedy broke on the left and gave Sharp the chance of scoring Everton's third. Only Woods' reaction prevented the goal. Rangers pressed forward with just a few minutes remaining and appeared to score an equaliser, but the Welsh referee for the 6th time in the match disallowed a Rangers effort. This time McCoist saw a second of his goals ruled offside. Only 4 minutes were left in the clock when Rangers mounted yet another attack. It was scorer Fleck who put through McCoist, and this time the chip was allowed to stand. Two goals apiece, and that was the end of scoring over 90 minutes. The game then moved into penalties, and with each side having converted 7 out of 7, Richard Gough stepped up for Rangers' 8th. It was then the turn of Ian Snowdon to keep Everton in the match. Again, Chris Wood's the hero, and Rangers collected the Super Cup and a £10,000 cheque.
Bill McFarlane reporting.
Here's a reminder of the highlights rather than the lowlights of our performances.
The day, leaders Celtic play second top Hearts at Parkhead, and St Mirren play Dunfermline. And that is how tight it is at the top of the Premier League right now. Celtic on 36 points, Hearts on 35, with Aberdeen and Rangers both chasing.
Back to tomorrow's Premier League and the draw for the World Cup, as well as a progress report on Scotland.
Britain's biggest crowd, something over 50,000, will be at Parkhead tomorrow as Celtic, the league leaders, take on Hearts, lying second. Only a point separates the two, and both are on form. Of course, whatever the result, the benefactors from the match could be Aberdeen and Rangers, who could close the gap on either if they can overcome Morton and Hibs respectively. Already this season, Celtic and Hearts have fought some memorable battles. For a place in the World Cup finals will be known tomorrow when the European section draw is made in Zurich. We've already been named as a second seed nation and will now be placed in a group of 4 or 5 nations. Of course, Scotland have qualified for the last 4 successive finals.
That's the top of the First Division, Hamilton Academicals.
Off scoring the opening goal for Rangers, flecked the other one in that game there. And St Mirren's new signing, of course, Conroy, scored a goal today in that match there. Does that look like Conroy to you? It doesn't look quite to me, but there we are. And there's the league table. Let's have a look at the league table now. No, there's Jim Bet, and the results, and again, and we'll get to the table eventually. There it is. Celtic at the top. Fighting back today, 2 goals down. Aberdeen getting victories again. Rangers creeping up. Dundee, 6 goals today. Well, now to a game which, for various reasons, wasn't shown on grandstand this afternoon, although it was billed. The match billed as the unofficial Football Championship of Britain between Rangers and Everton. Now, I personally look forward to the day when such a game becomes official and is played in this country. Meanwhile, we have to make do with a bizarre setting of Dubai, which is not one of the footballing centres of the world, but which has the odd millionaire floating about to add glitter to the occasion. So here we go, Rangers against Everton, a game in fact that went, rather surprisingly, to a night shift.
On by Trevor Stephen. This is Sharp, Heath in the middle. Trevor Stephen, Heath, let it go, Sheedy! A really nice attack from Everton. Built down the right, finished by the man coming in from the left. Taken a very central position. Durant, this is a good piece of play. Real opportunity for him. Sheedy the challenge. The goalkeeper out, but what a good run by Durant. Pity he couldn't find the finish, but it certainly brought 1 or 2 to their feet. And here's Durant. Oh, handball. Well, the referee can only have thought that that was accidental, but Durant certainly drove the ball against Watson's left hand from my viewpoint. Well, there's no doubt about it, is there? Sheedy. Free kick. Comes to Stephen. Oh, well played. Dave Watson did that quite superbly. He wasn't challenged and he allowed the ball to run so that he could balance himself for the shot. And the satisfied chairman of Everton on the left. Phillips. Ferguson. A little unlucky. Initially seemed to take a certain amount of time to get it under control, but got himself an angle. And he really wasn't very far away. Roberts. Rangers bit more possession in the last 3 or 4 minutes, but Everton battening down the hatches somewhat. Scott Nisbet, his control let him down. Durant. Fleck, and this time his strike does count. And the ships in town come from rival camps, that is clear. Good finish. And gives us an interesting finale. Rangers were to get an equaliser, that would be decided on a penalty competition, as last year. This has been a very much better match than that was. It's Sheedy who started the scoring, and Sharp, who but for a fine save by Woods, would surely have ended it. Sheedy's cross, good turn over the top from Chris Woods. Phillips, I think he quite intended that, gets a good return. Fleck, player wide to the right. McCoist is offside. He's offside. Well, he certainly made a run. He wasn't just standing there, but I think he'd gone too soon. Under 3 minutes remaining on our watches. Ferguson. McCoist. And it's 2 apiece. The 31st goal of the season. Scored by the Scottish Sports Personality of the Year. What a good finish. Ferguson. Durant. Good turn. Great save. Very good turn. And a brilliant tip over by Neville Southall.
So, all square, and with the locals on the edge of their seats, we went into a penalty shootout.
So calmly done. So for the 3rd time, an Evertonian has to score to keep his side in. This time it's Neil Poynton. 7-all. This would have increased just a bit. 14 successes. And a 15th. 8-7. In Snowden. Oh, and Chris Woods makes the save. And Rangers win the penalty competition at 8-7. So Graham Souness's team, who were 2 down, are in the end the winners.
The save that did it, and Rangers, the unofficial British champions. By the way, let me remind you that the big review of the year from London starts tomorrow night on BBC One at 7:15. That's tomorrow. BBC One, 7:15, the sports review of 1987.
Espy, Nicholas and Rocastle in the area. Nicholas! Yes! He's the Bonnie Prince this afternoon.
But the king north of the border was Graham Souness, who led Glasgow Rangers to their first Premier League title for 9 years, thanks to a considerable English connection.
Yes, Butcher, he scored! Butcher has scored for Rangers!
Rangers threatened to corner the market, but in the Scottish Cup, Ian Ferguson and St Mirren showed there's still room for the corner shop to please its customers. But for once, St Mirren's compatriots, Dundee United, ran out of stock, beaten in the UEFA Cup final by Gothenburg. Porto and Ajax were the other European winners.
That you've all been waiting for, the bits that we studiously try to avoid, but don't actually mind when we don't. Defending champion, of course, is Murray Walker. Where are you, Murray?
Nigel, first of all, will you carefully and slowly take your hat off? You've got an enormous bump on your head. Can you let them see it?
I don't know whether
Right up there. Oh, I'm sorry.
Brett Ogle deliberately hit his putt past the hole to reduce the distance that it would come back towards him, only to find the cup between himself and the ball.
Let's go back now to that Oxford-Watford game. Tony Gubber's got news of it.
Tony, you want on the phone?
Warm welcome to Wembley. Come on, to this lady. No Cliff aristocratic lady. And she's a big un. Oh! My fault.
Bernie, it's some 17 years since you bought McLaren. You've had some good times and you've had some bad times. What do you remember best?
I don't remember buying McLaren.
This is pretty silly. I don't remember David Coleman doing a lot of this.
I'm moving up into 4th place. That was tremendous. Do you think you'd ever do that?
I never thought that, no. From 8th to 4th, it was brilliant. But he deserved it, the way he showed you.
He was sick, wasn't he?
Absolutely, I couldn't believe it.
The first time in 10 years that we haven't had a woman challenging for the 100 metres or 200 metres, and that's because, sadly, Kathy Cook's retired from the game, and, you know, she's from the game.
Well, the bobsleigh boys have improved a bit since then. But we're close to the moment now when we announce the 1987 Sports Personality of the Year. The
Rangers and Frank McAvenny of Celtic did not appear at court to face breach of the peace charges. Solicitor Ken Murray, who was representing the players, asked for the case to be extended without plea for 3 weeks. Sheriff Craig Henry set the date of the next hearing for January the 5th. The four
have seen off Soviet side Dynamo Kiev and then Gornik of Poland. Tomorrow in Switzerland, they go into the quarter-final draw, and the men really have been sorted out from the boys. Those are the sides going into the draw: French club Bordeaux, Benfica of Portugal, PSV Eindhoven from Holland, Belgians Anderlecht, Steaua Bucharest of Romania, West Germans Bayern Munich, and the ones Rangers will doubtless want to avoid most, Real Madrid of Spain. Meanwhile, tonight, fans turning up at Ibrox for the match against Dunfermline will be handed this message from the Rangers directors. It's a plea from the Ibrox top brass to fans not to travel with Rangers to the away leg of the quarter-final, wherever that might be. One incident, it says, no matter how small, could damage the club's reputation abroad. And so what of Rangers' opponents? One former Celtic player who knows the European scene well has just flown into Scotland from West Germany. He now plays for Borussia Dortmund. But in his day, he loved nothing better than scoring against Rangers.
So it's Celtic again, coming more into the match. Mo Johnston taking on McPherson. Mo Johnston playing it square into the path of McLeod, and there is a Murdo McLeod special to tie the scores at 4 apiece.
Murdo, tell me, what is it like seeing that goal again?
Yeah, it's tremendous. It's a wee while since I've scored a goal, but to be able to score one against Rangers, one like that, was super.
Do you miss Celtic and being with Celtic?
Yeah, Celtic are a great club. I miss the people, the supporters round about the club. The supporters were great to me. I miss the Rangers-Celtic games. As you see the atmosphere there, Jim, it's the best in the world.
Murdo, tell me this. We'll talk about the European Cup in a minute. What happened last week? Borussia Dortmund, you were 3-0 up from the first leg in the UEFA Cup against Bruges, and you went to Bruges. Carry on.
Well, we all thought great chance for reaching the quarter-finals. Then we went out to Bruges. We lost a goal, 9 minutes. Another one in 49 minutes. 9 minutes to go, we lost a penalty, so it was 3-0. That levelled the game into extra time, another penalty, and another goal, so 5-0.
Heads were down?
Heads were down, yes.
OK, looking at that European Cup draw, Murdo, who do you think Rangers would want to avoid?
Well, as you said, Real Madrid, they're a tremendous side this season. Stoy Bucharest could be the dark horses. I would want to avoid them. And Munich, Bayern Munich are very good just now. They've got a wee bit of luck just now in Europe, but I think avoid these three and Rangers will do well.
What about Bayern Munich, Murdo? Are they the big team, the big cheese, if you like, in West Germany at the moment?
Yeah, they're a big club. They're the richest club out there. They can buy and sell players for as much money as they like. I feel they've struggled a wee bit, but I think Rangers playing against Munich will be a very good tie for Rangers. I think they could get through, but anything goes in European football.
Murdo, I maybe shouldn't ask an ex-Celtic player this. Do you think Rangers are capable of winning the European Cup?
They have a good chance. I think there are a lot of big-name sides there, but some of them went off the boil. Rangers are a big-name side, but they've come to the boil in the last season or so. So I think they've come right at the right time.
Briefly, you pleased about Celtic? They're doing well at the moment.
It's tremendous, yeah, because all the people in Germany always ask me about Celtic now. They all say Celtic are the second team. The supporters were great in Dortmund, so they all ask how are Celtic doing, and I told them they're #1 now. It's great for them.
Well, it's great to see you, and thanks for coming in, Murdo.
Thanks, Jim.
And finally, Murdo won't be able to see his old teammates in action tomorrow night. Celtic's match against Falkirk tomorrow is off due to a frostbound Brockville. And there are inspections at 1 or 2 other grounds. We'll keep you up to date with that tomorrow.
And Rangers will again travel behind the Iron Curtain to the next round of the European Cup. The Ibrox men go to Romania to meet that country's league champions, Stoia Bucharest, former European Cup winners. Meanwhile, Rangers striker Robert Fleck moved south today after many weeks of speculation. He's joined Norwich, and here is Jim White.
As far as the Rangers players were concerned, today's European Cup quarter-final draw couldn't have come at a better time, as it well and truly took the heat off them. As you'll see in a moment, manager Graham Souness wasn't at all impressed by their efforts during last night's drawn match against Dunfermline at Ibrox. There is the full European Cup quarter-final draw. Rangers travel to Romania for their first leg tie against Stoia Bucharest. Bayern Munich will meet Real Madrid. And now one of those two big guns can kiss goodbye to the final. Bordeaux play PSV Eindhoven and Benfica meet Anderlecht. And Rangers will play Stoia without striker Robert Fleck. He's tonight set to join Norwich City for over £500,000. Meanwhile, before the reasons behind the Fleck move, Souness explains that he himself has previous knowledge of Romanian opposition.
I played, it wasn't Stoia Bucharest, I played Dinamo Bucharest in the semi-final European Cup. The last year I was at Liverpool. I know because of the travelling involved and the conditions we'll play in, it'll be a difficult game for us. Again, we're going behind what's classed as Iron Curtain. It'll be difficult for us.
You must be delighted, Graham, that Bayern Munich have drawn Real Madrid, so one of those two big guns are going to go out.
Well, really, that's only of any importance if we get through, Jim. If we get our name into the hat for the next round. Really, we will only be concentrating on our own job.
What's the mood within the players today? I mean, they must be delighted.
I'm not speaking to them today.
You're not speaking to them?
No. Again, as you see on the face of it, it seems a good one. It's only a good one if you get through. I'm hoping that we perform as we did against both the Polish side out here and the Russian side out here. If we do that, then we've got a chance. And if we don't do that, we'll get knocked out.
Graham, Robert Fleck, a very popular player with the Rangers support, he's gone to Norwich, or it seems certain he will sign for Norwich today. Can you enlighten Rangers supporters as to why this has happened?
I think maybe now is not the time, but because it's still subject to a medical. But Robert Fleck has gone to Norwich because he had a great desire to leave the city of Glasgow, not so much this club. He was offered a new 2-year contract. I spoke to him, in fact, Monday about a new contract. He turned it down. He feels he'd been better away from Glasgow. I was made an offer that I couldn't refuse. After all, his contract was up at the end of the season. We would have had to have gone to the tribunal with it. We would have got less than half what we received from Norwich. I didn't want to lose him. But that's the way it sometimes goes in football. I've lost him. Now we have to get on with it. And I wish Robert Fleck well.
And though he has missed the European signing deadline, it's reported that Souness has again increased his bid for St Mirren midfielder Ian Ferguson. It's thought he's come in this time with £750,000 for Ferguson, though again St Mirren are expected to reject the bid. Meanwhile, what of Rangers' quarter-final opponent Soya Bucharest? They've been one of the strongest teams in Europe for the past few years and won the European Cup in 1986 after beating Barcelona. In the last round of the European Cup, they eliminated Cypriot champions Omonia Nicosia after this convincing 3-1 win at home. 2 goals here from that victory. But there's no doubt that the present Stoya side is not regarded as being as powerful as the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich or PSV Eindhoven. And because of that, Rangers must stand a great chance of making it to the semi-finals. Now, my colleague Jerry McNee was out in Zurich today for the draw. I spoke to him earlier.
I think it's a good draw for Rangers in terms of the fact that a lot of fans won't be travelling, but it's a mighty tough one for them because this team have a tremendous pedigree. I'd rather have seen Benfica or Bordeaux coming out of the hat with Rangers. But really, Stoya, they've won the championship so many times. They, of course, became the first Eastern Bloc country to win the Champions Cup 2 years ago when they beat Barcelona in Seville. And they went on then to win the European Super Cup against Dynamo Kiev. So Rangers know they've a real tie in their hands.
Jerry, Rangers chairman David Holmes is out there. First of all, what does he think about it?
Well, he's quite happy due to the fact that Rangers have already played Kiev and Gornik, and he says this will be a similar style of match. Of course, Rangers triumphing in those earlier rounds, so he's pretty happy about it.
Meanwhile, the Premier League matches at Aberdeen, Dundee United, Hearts and Morton have all survived the weather. Only the Falkirk versus Celtic match has failed to make it.
And Rangers will make a 3rd consecutive trip behind the Iron Curtain after drawing Romanian champion Steaua Bucharest in the European Cup quarter-finals. The first leg is in Romania on March the 2nd, with the return in Glasgow a fortnight later.
I want the Spanish team or the German team. We haven't pulled them, so that's a wee bonus. But this will be a hard game all the same. We're again going behind the Iron Curtain, so we know what to expect. But it'll be 2 very hard games, and it's really what happens on the nights.
It's only 18 months since they won the European Cup. Have you seen much of them?
No, the only time, and one and only time I've seen this particular side playing was in the European Cup final against Barcelona. I don't know anything about them. I'm sure they've had a lot of changes since then.
On Monday, Rangers urged fans not to travel to the away tie, whatever the opposition. While the Ibrox club will not be asking the Romanians to withhold visas, fans could encounter problems entering the country. The manager, however, doesn't envisage difficulties with supporters.
Really, when we go to places like that, we have our plates full of thinking about the game and concentrating on the game. I don't think there'll be issuing too many visas for Romania, so I don't suppose our supporter problem will arise there.
And Rangers will go into the quarter-finals without Robert Fleck. The striker was to have signed for Norwich City today for £500,000, but a failure of X-ray equipment during a medical delayed the signing until tomorrow. The Navy's Search and Rescue Centre, HMS Gannet, in Ayrshire.
Well, hopes of a white Christmas may be fading, but let's end tonight on a seasonal note anyway. 150 girls from Craigholme School in Glasgow entertained lunchtime shoppers in the New Prince's Square to an hour of Christmas songs and carols. And a profitable exercise it was, raising money appropriately for the Prince of Wales Hospice. Here's their version of Jingle Bells.
And a splendid version it is, very jolly as befits the season. Time, I think, to start decking the halls. We're back tomorrow, at least one.
European Cup quarter-final pairing this week. It's back to domestic business tomorrow. One match stands out a mile. Leaders Celtic play third-placed Aberdeen. Here's Jim White.
The weekend Premier League card holds a variety of interesting fixtures. The glamour match is at the top there. Celtic play Aberdeen at Parkhead, and that's close to a sellout. Rangers and St Mirren meet Dundee United. Now, one man relishes the Celtic-Aberdeen match at Parkhead. £650,000 Celtic signing Joe Miller greatly looks forward to playing against his old teammates, but says he doesn't have any particular tips for his Parkhead colleague. Morton, it's crucial for both sides tomorrow.
It is. Dunfermline, very good point the other night, although I'm told Rangers were absolutely shocking. But I'm quite sure Jim Leishman views it a different way. Dunfermline giving a very good account of themselves in the Premier League. They may stay up. They've got a chance.
Tell me, how does it feel to be back in Scotland? You've been to Dubai with Rangers. You went to Zurich for the World Cup draw and then the European Cup draw. How does it feel to be back? Strange.
Yes, but it's nice to be back. There's no place like home, and of course you've got to be back in time for Santa, haven't you?
And a great deal's been going on, hasn't it?
That's right. The Rangers game in Dubai was quite exceptional. Great fight back by them, and the World Cup draw last week was very exciting. I think it gets the whole nation going, and Andy Roxburgh is about to find out there are 5 million Scotland managers hovering about. Everyone's an expert now.
Lovely, Jerry, thanks. And finally, the children who toppled the mighty Glasgow Rangers have raised £2,500 for a hospital appeal fund. The team of youngsters from Victoria Drive School in Glasgow went to Ibrox today to present the cheque to the York Hill Scanner Appeal. Don Lindsay reports.
Rangers captain Terry Butcher, not long out of hospital himself with a broken leg, was at Ibrox this morning to hand over the cheque for £2,500, which will go to help the York Hill Hospital Scanner Appeal. The cash was raised following the dramatic victory by Victoria Drive School over Rangers by 6 goals to 5 in a specially arranged game in November. Terry Butcher felt confident enough to shrug off that result and pay tribute to the youngsters.
It is good fun. It's nice for the children to come alongside well-paid stars, so it's a good promotional exercise as well as being a good fundraising one.
Tremendous. It's just a dream come true. Watching stars on the telly, you never thought you'd come close to, and you're playing right beside them, against them. It's just magnificent.
It must be pleasing as well to have raised as much money for the hospital as you did.
It was all in a good cause though, so quite a few people were willing to put money to it because it was a really good cause. So that's how we raised so much.
It's a lot of work to raise this large sum of money, and just the knowledge that the kids appreciate it and do things like this and have the initiative to help is tremendous. And of course Rangers Football Club has been great in helping as well, to have the boys out playing the real team and to have the girls who didn't play in the team and have done things like scrubbing staircases to raise money for it, gives everybody a very warm feeling.
The appeal for the £1 million scanner is now standing at a total of £75,000.
And now tonight...
Our player of the season so far in England, time for our choice of Scotland's most entertaining footballer. He's a Ranger, sharp as a razor, and he was in action in midweek against Dunfermline.
On an evening of almost freezing temperatures, Rangers looked to be coasting to a comfortable victory against the more lowly Dunfermline, when Derek Ferguson ended this Cooper Durant move. Appearances, though, can be deceptive, for then Rangers began to creak. And with Richard Gough making elementary defensive mistakes, Dunfermline's Mark Smith very efficiently set Stuart Beattie up to sweep in a quite excellent equaliser. Now, even at this early stage, most people, including the Dunfermline supporters, assumed that Rangers would then take a stranglehold. But it took them into the second half to go ahead. It came from an excellent jump and header by Gough, and McCoy's finding himself with a little breathing space. The roof of the net stopped its progress upwards. 2-1. But then an extremely jaded-looking Rangers defence allowed Bobby Smith's free kick to pass across him without interruption, and Craig Robertson's head brought an equaliser, an embarrassment to an Ibrox side who looked slightly shell-shocked. Aftermath brought Andy McCoy to the physio's table the following morning. This is, I suppose, a rare static view of a restless, bubbling individual who thinks perhaps his club are being asked to play far too many games.
From a personal point of view, I do, yes. I think playing Saturday, Wednesday every week, and that's us right up to Christmas now, and it's been Saturday, Wednesday. I'm contradicting myself in the extent that I love playing football, and I love turning out Saturday, Wednesday, but I think it gets a wee bit much in the legs. If you get a knock on the Saturday, you don't have a reasonable period of time to shake off the knock because you're back in again on Wednesday. So I think perhaps we're playing a little bit too much football.
The combination of McCoist and Robert Fleck proved to be highly successful last season. But Fleck, seen playing here, played his last game on Tuesday night and is now headed south to Norwich.
I definitely will miss Robert Fleck, I think. I'd like to think we, Robert, will miss me to a certain extent. The two of us scored a few goals last season between us. I think it was over 60 in all competitions, so it wasn't too bad a record. and I definitely will miss him.
It's there! Fleck has scored for Rangers.
McCoist now has no acknowledged partner as a striker. In those circumstances, does he feel any added pressure?
Touchwood, not at the moment. I think fairly or unfairly, not for me to say, but a striker is always judged by his goals. Whether he's playing well or working hard off the ball or whatever, at the end of the day it's goals that matter for a striker.
His positional sense is important to Rangers in Europe. Kiev's Arden curtain was lowered, Ali stepped in.
And they all hesitated except for McCoist.
He seems to love Eastern Europe. In Poland, the Gorny goalkeeper didn't take too kindly to his quick burst. The ensuing penalty was just another of the many he scored for Rangers, but which meant a fortune to the club, proceeding to the quarter-finals.
Now, you're drawn against Steaua Bucharest. What do you think of that?
The lads were talking about it in the dressing room. We think it's a great draw.
By the way, does that noise mean you're dying?
I hope that's not mine. That's my ankle caving in there. I think, first and foremost, a great draw due to the fact they're away from home first. And we'll be looking to do a similar job perhaps as we did on Kiev, get a reasonable result over there and bring it back to Ibrox.
He was BBC Scotland's sports personality of 1987, and his popularity off the field has drawn him to the local radio station, where his phone-in was aimed at raising £350,000 in the Cash for Kids campaign.
What have you got planned?
Oh, well, I'll go and see Rangers in the second, anyway.
That's good.
And do you think you could give me away from the... I'll be sitting in the Copeland Road stand?
You'll be sitting in the Copeland Road stand, you'll have a hard job. The game's at Parkhead.
Well, that's it. I mean the Dundee.
You mean the Dundee game in the 20... OK. The game in the 27th? I'll try and give you away. I'll try and give you something to cheer about anyway, if selected.
Well, every goal by a striker is a gift to his fans. And he's no exception, except at Ibrox. They expect Christmas Day every Saturday.
Well, Ali McCoist certainly excites and no doubt frustrates lots of fans. But, you know, if you think you get a bit worked up when watching football, just...
Jim, and Robert... If you insist, Stein. Robert Fleck transferred from Glasgow Rangers to Norwich City.
Yes.
Now, that was a little bit of a surprise.
It was more than a surprise to me. It was a shock. Not that he went to Norwich, but not that one of the bigger clubs in this country didn't pick him up, because I think he's an outstanding striker, this lad. And I'm amazed he's finished up at Norwich, really, when Spurs and Manchester United and Arsenal, any of them would have picked up a striker like this, or could have done, for a relatively cheap price, I think. Not a lot of money involved, by modern standards.
But Robert Fleck has gone to Norwich because he had a great desire to leave the city of Glasgow, not so much this club. He was offered a new 2-year contract. I spoke to him, in fact, Monday about a new contract. He turned it down. He feels he'd been better away from Glasgow. I was made an offer that I couldn't refuse. After all, his contract was up at the end of the season. We would have had to have gone to a tribunal with it. We would have got less than half what we received from Norwich. I didn't want to lose him. But that's the way it sometimes goes in football. I've lost him. Now we have to get on with it. And I wish Robert Fleck well.
And you have to get on with it, with very few strikers around, and you've missed a European deadline.
Well, when you say very few strikers, Robert Fleck, in regard to the European Cup, I think has played 10 minutes in the European Cup this year. He hasn't started again in the European Cup. We started both the games here with Mark Falco. He's gone. But we feel we can compensate for that. We feel we can compensate for Robert Fleck. I can now go out and buy someone who can play in all our games except our European Cup games.
Will you be playing with the number 9 shirt on come the game against Steaua Bucharest?
I'll be happy if I can get in the team.
Well, you pick the team. But the thing about that, Jim, he's obviously a little bit upset at losing Robert Fleck.
It looks that way. He looks very disappointed, doesn't he? Very disappointed.
But, you know, Falco's gone, Fleck's gone.
Yeah.
And Steaua Bucharest, who'd have drawn, are no mugs.
Well, they won it 2 seasons ago.
Correct. So it's going to be a tough game for them.
Well, last 8, there's no mugs left in it, is there? So It will be a very tough game.
But it'd be interesting to see who he signs, and he's talking about signing a player, so, I mean, it could be another Englishman up there.
And let's hope that Fleck does the business for Norwich, because they've been bold enough to buy him.
They certainly have. Now, European Championships coming up. I watched the game, and I felt that the first half was a little bit quiet, but Maradona turned it on in the second half.
Livened up.
Right, to that league table, which proves that the title may go elsewhere. What I've done is to compile a top people's league. It's made up by taking the results of all the matches played between the top 4 clubs, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts and Rangers, and the results are quite fascinating. As you see, Celtic lead it by a long way. In fact, they haven't been beaten by any of their 3 closest rivals this season. And if they can repeat that in 1988, the trophy could be going back to Parkhead. Hearts and Aberdeen, well, they come out about even, but it must be a wee bit worrying to Souness that the top clubs don't seem too frightened by the Ibrox side. Well, somebody said to Billy McNeil after yesterday's match that the league could go to the last day of the season and that would be a good thing for Scottish football. Maybe so, he said with a smile. It certainly wouldn't be any good for me. Anyway, this is the last Sunday Scotsball in 1987, which was really a year of good losers, from Tom McKean to Dundee United. By now you'll realise I've a soft spot for the underdogs, so to sum up 12 months in a few moments, I've picked this postscript to the year, which gives you the spirit of football. It's when the cup went back to Paisley.
Billy Abercrombie. Good bit of control from Hamilton. That's for Ferguson. He's away from Clark. A chance for St Mirren. There it is! Ian Ferguson! Thompson on his knees. The celebrations begin.
That was a great highlight for me. Thanks to everyone. If I could single out one person to wish Happy Christmas to, get well soon, Terry Butcher. And in a year of controversy, a reminder that football is supposed to be fun, even if this fella might not agree. Not in 100 years will he ever live it down. Stay with us through the break. After it, Liverpool equals club record as they stay top of the English First Division.
Good afternoon and a belated Merry Christmas from Jim and myself, and I can tell you that we have a show that's a little bit different today, Jim.
We do?
We're working on Boxing Day.
Yes, it's... mind you, we're used to working on Boxing Day, saying, haven't we,
sure.
with the football. And it was peace and goodwill to all men, even in those days, unless you were playing against Chopper Harris or Norman Hunter, and then it became a bit different. But there's been a bit of stick flying about, hasn't there?
Are you talking about the Emlyn Hughes set of Venables bust-up?
Yeah.
When Hughes had said Terry should sell 9 players.
Yeah, you can't even give them away, let alone sell them, but there you are. I understand El Tel is buying Emlyn a blow football set for Christmas. So, a blow, don't suck, Emlyn.
And can I just say, Dundee United fans, well done. Similarly, UEFA have awarded the club the best supporters in Europe, Jim, and they get £40,000.
Really?
Yes, well done, the fans.
Oh, that's 10 grand apiece. Well played, lads. Congratulations.
Well, in a few minutes, we'll be looking back at some of the spectacular and funny moments of the year. Bring out the old year with a look back at some of the moments which captured our imagination in 1987.
I felt there should have been better competition, yeah.